Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we'll learn how Java threads talk to each other. And in this process, we will learn more about wait, notify, and notify methods of object class. How threads talk to each other, or what is the inter-thread communication. So there might be a scenario where certain threads need to work closely with each other to achieve some goal. For example, producer and consumer. So producer produces some messages in a queue and consumer consumes those messages from the queue. And queue could be of certain capacity and there might be a scenario that queue could be full and producer cannot produce more messages to the queue because it will be a loss. And there might be a scenario that consumer is slow and is not able to read as fast as producer is producing the messages. So in that case, the producer and consumer, these should communicate with each other. Tell that, okay, I have consumed these messages. Now you can push more messages and I'm ready to read more messages. So for this scenario or this kind of scenario, we need inter-thread communication. And to achieve the inter-thread communication, Java has provided these methods, wait, notify, and notify all. So what is a wait method? Wait method, it is part of object class. It is used to cause the current thread to release the lock and wait. Similarly, notify. It is used to notify a waiting thread. So let's talk about our example. So the producer will wait for consumer to consume the messages and consumer once consumed the messages notify to producer that consumer has consumed the messages, producer can produce those messages now. Similarly, we have another method called notify all. The difference between notify and notify all is notify wakes up a single waiting thread, but notify wakes up all the waiting threads. I'm sure you'll come across such scenarios where multiple threads are waiting for some resource to be free, and in that case, you can use notify all. Now let's create some classes and see how the inter-thread communication works. For that purpose, I have created a class, producer consumer. In that class, I have a queue of integers with capacity 5. There are two methods, produce and consume. As the name suggests, produce will produce some messages inside the queue and consume will read those messages until the queue is empty. Now if you see, we have used wait method in both the methods, produce and consume. The use case of wait over here is producer cannot produce more messages than the capacity. So it has to wait. And consumer cannot consume more messages than what is already there, which means if the queue is empty, consumer cannot consume more messages. So it has to wait. So the consumer thread will wait until new message is there in the queue and similarly producer will wait until consumer has consumed message from the queue and made some capacity available for new messages. We have introduced some sleep like 5.5 second and 1 second. Reproduce a scenario where producer takes just half second to produce new message and consumer takes 1 second to consume one message, so that there will be at certain point there will be a scenario where producer has utilized all the capacity by producing the messages faster and consumer is still processing those messages because it is taking just double of the time what producer takes. I have written a test class in which I'm calling the produce and consume methods using two threads. We have started those threads and we are adding some join in both the threads. This method will run indefinitely. I have not stopped it. So it will start pushing the message from 0. I have started the producer with value 0 and it will start pushing the message with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on. and consumer thread will simultaneously read from the queue. Now let's test it. Now if you can see, producer produced 1, consumer consumed the 0th, then producer is moving fast if you see, and consumer is still processing the previous messages. So I'll introduce some log saying that it is waiting for consumer to consume. So if you see, I have introduced some logs, which is clear representation of what we have been talking till now. So the producer thread will wait because the queue is already full and consumer is not able to process the messages because it is taking a little more time. Similarly, consumer will wait if the queue is empty. Let's test it. Now till here everything was fine because consumer was reading, but one point came where queue was full. So producer had to wait because consumer could not process already produced messages from the uh, producer thread. And this goes on. So this is how wait and notify. Now let's discuss about notify here. So it is still waiting. The producer thread, once the execution reaches here, it is still waiting. And it is waiting on this notify method. The consumer thread was consuming the message from the queue. It saw that queue is not empty, so it will not go inside this. It will read the value and notify the producer thread that okay, I have made space for I have consumed one of the message from the queue. Now you can push one more message. So this is what we have seen here. Consumed 6. Now producer is at 12. Producer produced 12. Producer thread was notified. It went ahead and produced a new message. Then it again notified consumer that okay, I have produced a new message. Now you don't need to wait. You can move ahead and consume more. So this is how wait and notify work. Now let's discuss about our interview questions. What interview questions could come up on this topic? First one is, why does wait need to be in a synchronized block? Because the thread must own the object's monitor to call wait. Otherwise, it will throw illegal monitor state exception. So there will be illegal monitor state exception. Similarly, next question is, what is the difference between notify and notify all? This we have discussed. That notify wakes up one thread and notify all wakes up all the threads waiting on certain resource. Next is, what happens if notify is called and no threads are waiting? Nothing happens. No exception is thrown. Moving next. What is the difference between wait and sleep in Java? So both are used to pause the execution, but wait is used to release the lock, and sleep does not release any lock. Wait is used for coordination of threads. It works with notify, which we saw in our earlier example, that wait and notify works together in a producer consumer scenario. But thread, it just pauses the execution. It just sleeps for a certain time. It does not release any lock. It is must for wait method to be used under synchronized block. But for sleep, it is not a must. Both are interruptible, which means that both can be interrupted. So this is about the differences between wait and sleep in Java. That is all about inter-thread communication. In the next video, we will jump into thread pools and executors. What are thread pools and executors? They are just more efficient way of creating raw threads. Till now, we have seen that we are just creating threads by introducing new thread or runnable. But in the next video, we will see how we can utilize some executor classes or some thread pools to create and utilize the thread. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon. Thank you for watching.